All right, so I got Taylor in the house today. All right, Taylor and I make another episode, another podcast called Growth Marketers Podcast.
We do.
And now this is the All In podcast, right? So it's just jump in,
all
change
in.
our hats.
Okay.
We're all in. And today's topic is something I just, since I had you for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, I wanted to just share your wisdom with the audience about this one thing that you taught us, I don't know how many years ago. You had given a little talk to our company, and you talked about motivation versus discipline. And it stuck in my head that I wanted to do something with that with you, whether it was to take you in my car and go to Starbucks one day and just get it out of our head. But today I got you here, and can you share that? And I think it was so important. And I didn't put it like that before. I knew I had the discipline, but the way that you put the two together made it so much sense. So go ahead. I'm going to...
I mean, that idea to me, I don't know exactly remember the first time I heard that. I mean, I remember the idea of discipline.
Well, my parents taught me discipline.
Yeah, discipline, right? Yeah, you might get spanked if you're, But even back to, youth sports and all that kind of stuff. And I think maybe I never understood the big picture of it, right? I remember one of my football coaches growing up where, he always talked about discipline in the sense of like, don't jump off sides, right? So like you're down in the line and you don't jump off sides. You got to be disciplined. You got to know what you're going to do. No matter what the other team's doing, you got to be disciplined and know what the play is and what the snap count is. And again, you don't really apply that to anything bigger than when you're just a kid. And then as you kind of, you grow and you expand into your career and you're trying to accomplish these goals, then you hear a lot of, the idea of a motivational speaker, right? So you hear these motivational speakers always preaching about it's very rah-rah, and then you get people within organizations that say, how do you stay motivated? Or you get into different aspects of your life about, it could be health or fitness, it could be business, it could be financially, it could be personal development, growth, whatever that may be. And that's always kind of the excuses. Like, I just can't get motivated. I'm not motivated.
I can't get up in the morning.
How that guy's so motivated. How are you so positive all the time? And so I think that's the idea of where that stemmed from, right? Is discipline versus motivation. And to me, motivation, if you look at the definition of it, is fleeting. It is something that comes and goes. So are you motivated to do something is not a reason why you should do it or not do it, because you can't base your whole life or success on, am I going to catch this wave? You're waiting for this wave always to come, right? So the idea of being disciplined is, you know what you want to accomplish, you know the road to get there, you know what needs to be done, and you do it. Right, you get up every day and you do it, and like you said, you have a lot of that discipline, maybe without knowing what it's called, in certain aspects of your life. Right, it's like, okay, you don't always want to come to work, or you don't always want to, write this paper or this blog, or make this podcast or make this phone call, or I don't really want to talk to this person, or I don't really want to talk to this employee, or whatever that may be. There's a lot of things in life that you don't want to do, but there's a lot of things that you want to accomplish, and you can't have one without the other. So this idea of discipline, of just creating habits for yourself and learning how to be disciplined in certain aspects, and then bringing that and letting that sort of cover the rest of your life and whatever you're trying to accomplish. So I think, the easiest way to look at it, and most people look at it when you think about motivation or discipline, is physical activity or athletics, right? So it's like going to the gym is always the easiest one, right? And like you said, how do you go to the gym, or how do you stay motivated? And for me, I try to go to the gym every morning, right? And so,
well, let's talk about you waking up on time before you go to the gym.
That's it. That's harder. So for that, that's a perfect.
That's where the people fail.
That's a perfect example, right?
Yes.
The hardest part about going to the gym is getting to the gym, right? And the hardest part about being in shape is, eating right and going to the gym. And that's what people are trying to do. So the first set is, okay, set your alarm for 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. or whatever that needs to be. And the first test of the day is, do you hit the snooze button?
Correct.
And if you can be disciplined to say, every time my alarm goes off, I'm going to sit up.
Right.
Get up, get out of bed. That is discipline. There's nobody in the world is motivated at 5 in the morning. You don't wake up and be like, I'm going to crush it today, right? But you can be disciplined. You can train yourself to be disciplined to say, okay, I'm up, first step, right? And so you just create this set of structure in your life to accomplish whatever those goals are. And at the end of the tunnel can be your motivation, right? Whatever that is, success, money, your family,
Right.
whatever that end motivation is, that's the end result. But you need to develop your own blueprint to get there. And then you need to create this, sense of self-accountability or discipline to actually make that happen. And so we were talking before the podcast about, okay, how does this translate into the business world or personally or financially? I mean, again, I think people think about discipline and motivation. They hear this, okay, I understand the concept that discipline is something that you choose to do and motivation is something that sort of happens to you and you can either choose to take advantage of that motivation that you have at the time or not. But the discipline is something you consciously choose to do every single day. Okay, so how does that look outside of going to the gym? Because some people think that's vain or whatever. It's not what it's about. It's okay, how does that impact me? Well, then I know that I am going to be better at this one thing that's physical activity if I just choose to be disciplined and go to the gym and do the workout that I wrote down and then, go shower and go to work or whatever. But then if you stop being disciplined at that point, you start realizing like, okay, well, why am I in better shape by doing this? Like, would I be better at my job if I was disciplined about these activities that I don't really like doing? These other activities I like doing, but I don't like these other ones. So for me, the easiest way to do that is, okay, let me do that at the beginning of the day, first thing of the day, so I can get over it. And then the second half of the day is going to be more exciting or whatever it is. So you create this, you understand yourself and you're a little more introspective, and then you just have to be disciplined about it. Because, I mean, I think everybody, if they could just go home or go golfing instead of, go to work that day, they'd probably rather do that. So it's like, you have to be disciplined to know that outcome of what you want. And then that translates into every aspect of your life. You talked about financially, personal finance as well as business finance. It's sometimes it's hard to be disciplined to not buy that, extra, TV or iPad or this or that, or this, whatever it is, and not buy those shoes or go out to dinner. Or you have to look at your goals. Like, okay, what are you trying to accomplish? Can I be disciplined and say that, me going out to eat 4 times a week is not going to help me reach my fitness goals and health goals. It's not going to help me reach my financial goals. It's not going to help me, you know what I mean? So those are every minute or every second or every day or whatever, you have to consciously think like, yes, it sounds really good to go out and have, a burger and a beer, but
how are you going to look like after a year?
I have to be disciplined to not do that today. And so I mean, that's really it, is, consciously making decision when you're not motivated. I mean, that's true discipline. Is when you wake up, you don't want to go to the gym, or you don't want to go to work, or, you're at work and, your coworker is on vacation. It would be easy for you to just, listen to a podcast for half an hour and then, leave a little bit early. Or you could finish that report you're working on, or you could make that extra phone call, or you could do, everyone kind of knows that right or wrong. And it's just really easy to not do it. But if you're really serious about improving yourself, the only way to make that happen consistently over time is to be disciplined on those times where you really don't want to do it.
Correct. I think the first day of the year is the busiest at the gym.
At the gym, yeah.
I can never park my car because there's no parking spot. But they all lose that discipline by the third day of the year.
Well, that's exactly, that's the motivation, right? It's, or the idea, the illusion of motivation is going to be this, engine that gets me there, right? Where it's like, maybe that, but what's the fuel behind that engine, or how do you actually make that go? That's the discipline to say,
exactly.
Yes, January 1st and January 2nd and the 3rd. And then, how do you get to March?
And still be doing the exact same thing. And they
can't, you can't be, I can't at least.
Correct.
I can't be motivated for 3 months. I can't be motivated for 6 months. For the same outcome. You're going to lose that motivation. It's fleeting.
And I think that's the same thing that people go to a conference or something and they come back all fired up. They're like ready to change the world. And about 2 weeks later, all plans have been changed.
So that's a great point, is you look at that, and it's not to say motivation is a good thing. Motivation is a great thing. But how do you capture that great idea, that lightning in a bottle that you had? I'm fired up. I just learned all these great things at this conference. I want to go back and implement these into my business. Everyone agrees when I go back and I pitch this idea to them, but everyone then goes back to their day-to-day. That's where the discipline comes in to say, No, we said yesterday we were going to do this. So today, this is the first step to make that happen. Here's what we have to do. On top of our job that we're already doing, we're also going to do this other
Correct.
thing that we said we're going to do because it's going to get us to our end goal. And just kind of doing that when it's not the most popular idea at the time. I mean, almost 100% of the time, you're going to feel better after you do it. But it's
That's
just
true.
that idea of, I'm not. It's not always a conscious decision not to do it. Most of the time, it's more subtle than that. I think it's pushing it off, right? Kicking
That's
the can
true.
down the road of, I'll do that tomorrow. Right?
Correct.
I'll work out this weekend or, next week, next month. We'll start this Q1, Q2. We hear that a lot from a business standpoint, right? It's
Of
like,
course.
we'll do that.
It's easier.
That's a next year activity, right? And sometimes, there's other larger items at play from a business standpoint that come down to budgets and, red tape and all that kind of stuff. But on a personal level, you can't just rely on that motivation. And I think that gets commonly, misconstrued when you see the most successful entrepreneurs, business owners, people that you see. It seems like they're always motivated. And what they've done in reality is they've created an extreme sense of discipline to do. Most likely they do the same thing every single day. I mean, you look at what Steve Jobs wear the same outfit every day, right?
Correct.
It's like, yeah, maybe he's a little crazy or this or that, but he decided for himself that there's one less thing I have to worry about. And for me to accomplish my goals, I'm going to do this. And even when he had all the money and all the people who said, hey, here's all these outfits, you could wear this, they could have made it as easy as possible. He could have had a person. I mean, he just stuck to that of like, here's my routine, here's my habit. Here's what I'm going to do. And I know that's a very small scale thing, but it translates into every aspect of your life if you realize it and if you consciously make that decision. I see that a lot too, is like, and I struggle with that sometimes. Is like I can be very disciplined in some aspects and then undisciplined in other aspects. Like you said, it's easy to say, okay, I'm going to be disciplined about, going to the gym. But then, when it comes to buying things, like you just buy on emotion and it's very like whatever's happening at the time.
I could use a lot of discipline in a lot of areas of my life, but I just wanted to get that out of you.
Well, you talked about what's the question?
Personal finance,
about the working with employees and that kind of stuff.
and especially when I'm recruiting, and we do a fair amount of recruiting, right? Yeah. And I can use that example everywhere. Do I look for employees that are short-term motivated because they may not like their current job and they're looking forward to working in an agency, so they're ready to do whatever you say, and are they going to do that at 3 months from now, right? That's a great question. Is this sales rep who says, I'm going to prospect every day for you, not a problem. There's no prospecting happening because what happened? Because the guy does not have discipline. Yeah. And I think every sales rep knows this. They know they need to prospect. Even if they have all the leads in the world, you should do that because that's what you need to do is connect with new people on a regular basis. But who's got the discipline? Right. I just think that it plays really well in professional life.
And people always try to, figure out the best way to motivate their employees too, right? Which I think is important.
Yeah, no, I'm all for it. I'd love to, but I can't lit the fire in you every morning.
So yeah, you need a sense of, all employees need a sense of discipline, right? I mean, they need to show up on time every day. They need to do their work. They need to do the things that they know they don't want to do.
Or go to bed on time.
But, well, yeah.
That's where it starts.
Yeah. You're right. And then, so the other side of that is, as management, how do we motivate people? And that comes down to discipline too, right? Because if you look at it, if you're responsible for leading a team of people, then you need to look at, okay, how am I going to get these people to do what we need them to do all at the same time so that we can accomplish our goal? And if that answer is sometimes to motivate people and everyone's motivated in a different way, then you can't wait until you're motivated to pass the motivation on to somebody else. You need to be disciplined to say, okay, here's how we're going to create this culture of accountability. Here's how we're going to increase productivity. Here's how we can motivate people, both big picture as well as create that accountability, which then creates that discipline, right? So you need to be disciplined to say, every day you come into work, even I don't know, if you don't feel like talking to anybody today, I just want to do my job, right? And I'm disciplined and I'm going to do my job, but you're also responsible for somebody else. So then that's where that, it's kind of layered in there of you have to be disciplined to do those motivational type things that maybe you don't think are necessary today, we'll do them tomorrow. Right. But you're just delaying that item, and it comes back to you can't wait to pass that wave of motivational emotion on to somebody else because then you're playing a whole nother timing game of hoping that we're all motivated at the same time.
That's true.
And then like, what are you going to play Tony Robbins tape at the beginning
I
of
know.
every day? I don't know.
That's another thing. Can you test for it, right? How do I test for it? Is that even possible?
I don't know. I mean, I think everyone has a certain sense of that in them, or the ability to do that. Not everybody kind of captures it, right? Because it is a choice, right? So I guess technically everybody can be disciplined, because everyone has the ability to make a choice to do, A or do B. I think it comes inherently more with people that, anybody that has, a hobby or an interest, or has played a sport in the past, or anything along those lines, anything, gone to college. Right. You can find it anywhere. It's like, well, how does, being a, black belt in karate apply to business? Like,
correct.
It doesn't, except for the fact that took a lot of work and a lot of discipline. And so that they have that capacity, right? And so, like, how does, playing a sport, or how does, somebody who's the master at playing piano or violin, like, doesn't make them, by default, that doesn't make them a better employee. But what it does tell you is that they are capable of doing something every day, even if they're not motivated, and mastering some sort of a craft, and
right.
that they are passionate about it. And yes, at some point they were motivated to pick up that, guitar, right, or that violin for the first time. But there was probably a lot of times that they didn't want to do it, and they were disciplined to continue on that.
And that's every American, right? They buy a nice Sony camera or Nikon when they see it. So, oh man, I want to be a photographer.
Right.
How many times do they actually use that thing?
Right. Yeah. So I don't know if you can test for it aside from, you can see patterns, like have they shown that capacity in the past? But yeah, it's something that, for the good news is, it's something, if you're listening to this, it's something that can be learned, and that you can,
I agree,
you can do tomorrow. You can say,
and if you're going to be an entrepreneur,
doesn't have to be, I look at it always, like I said, it's a physical, the easiest way for me to get into that gear and gain that momentum, because that's all that motivation is, right? It's like momentum, the wave of momentum. But you can create that momentum yourself by being disciplined and doing that first thing. But it could be anything. If it all comes back for me to like health and fitness, because that's the easiest way. But it's true. If you're not, you have a messy, whatever, you have a messy
right. house,
you don't make your bed, you don't do this, you don't pick up your clothes, you don't go to the gym, you don't eat healthy, you're going to feel bad. And it's just like, it all kind of, that's, for me, it's an easy way to get that momentum and kind of start operating at a, higher, RPM level, or whatever. It's like, maybe you realize that the first thing you need to do every day is meditate, or the first thing you need to do every day is make a phone call. Because as soon as I make a phone call, then my brain starts going. I have to answer somebody. I have to talk, and then I start thinking about all the things I need to do, and then I'm gonna, do this or that. Or a lot of times, it could be as simple as I heard on a podcast of the first thing. The first thing everybody does in the morning, I think, is look at their phone. And so,
probably not
if
the
you
right
have
thing
the
to do.
discipline to do, and say, hey, the first 20 minutes of being awake, I'm going to get up, maybe I'm going to make some coffee. I'm going to just sit there. I'm going to think about, 3 things that I want to accomplish today, right? So if you have the discipline to do that very small thing, and then look at your phone, I think just that small little, again, it's going to snowball into something greater than, well, why is that guy successful? He doesn't look at his phone for the first 30 minutes a day. Like, you're missing the pictures, like that you're making the first thing you're doing in the morning is making a conscious decision to be better than what you actually want to do, which is scroll through your emails, or
right.
Then you're reactive the whole day, right, rather than being proactive. Because if you sit there and you think, okay, here's the 3 things I want to do, and then you start taking action, that's a whole different mindset of that day, and that's all you can do, right? Is one day at a time.
Yeah, and I think every successful entrepreneur, you look at them and say, oh wow, the guy's such and such, or the girl, whoever. But way, way, way back, they've been disciplined in doing the things that they needed to do every single day when they didn't have the customer base or whatever it might be, or the brand. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times I think we look at that and say, oh, wow, they make it look super easy. But I think we're missing the bigger point that anybody can do that.
Right. Yeah, and
you just have to be disciplined
down to those small activities. But I truly believe that if you learn that discipline, then you look at other business problems that we face. And we always talk about, okay, having focus with your business, and we only work with these type of customers and not those type of customers. Every business owner is going to have so many different forks in the road where they can take on, we're going to partner with this company, and we're going to do this, and we're going to do profit share over here, and we're going to do this, and then we're going to hire this employee, or we're going to, do work with this nonprofit, or we're going to, I mean, there's so many different decisions that you can make. But there comes a time where you have to be disciplined, even if someone's sitting there with a $1 million check. If that doesn't support your goals, you can't have that conversation with you. Say, well, we'll do this project now, and it's going to take 2 years of our life, but 2 years from now, then we'll pick back up where we want it to be. You need that discipline to say, yeah, I know there's a lot of money, this could do this, but this doesn't align with what I'm really trying to be and what I really want to do, the vision for my company, the current team structure that we have today. It's not aligned, so I have to have the discipline to turn that down, right? And so those are bigger picture examples, but for me, I don't think you can get to that level without having just a basic
discipline.
Right. I mean, like, oh yeah, I don't show up to work on time every day, right? Like if you don't have that, then how can you possibly make
$1 million decision?
Yeah.
That's true. Well, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom, man. Yeah. That's all I got for you guys today, and I'll see you next time.